What's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champ, the flyweight champ, and the bantamweight champion of the world. Anyhow, you guys stay tuned, and you guys don't forget to hit up Artem MMA Analysis on YouTube. Because if you don't, you guys can all do me a favor and bend the knee to King Triple C.
Alright guys, Artem MMA Analysis here, back with another video. I'm going to make a video on the full UFC 270 card, and just letting you know, if you're watching the full video, not the individual videos, which I will be putting out as well, it might be a bit mixed up, because I'm going to start bottom to top in the Tapouria order, not the same order as what the actual card might be. And with that being said, we start out with Pete Rodriguez versus Jack Della Maddalena. If you guys don't know Jack Della Maddalena, he's a pretty big favourite in this fight. He come off Dana White's Contender Series with a pretty good win over Angelusa. That's his first decision win in his entire career. And I think Angelusa was actually a training partner of Kamaru Usman, which is interesting. And I think it's the first time Jack Della Maddalena has ever seen the third round as well. And he put on a pretty good pace. And yeah, he just put on a great performance and he won a decision. And here he is in the UFC. He was meant to fight the GOAT, Wiley Alves, the man that beat Colby Covington, and unfortunately that fight didn't really work out. So now we've got Pete Rodriguez stepping in on a short notice, a man that he throws a lot of power in his punches. He's got 4 wins, 4 knockouts, and when he knocks people out, he knocks them out pretty bad, man. But the problem with Pete Rodriguez is he's only 4-0, and the level of competition, apart from his last fight against Roberto Pixley, is not necessarily the highest of all levels. But the thing is, when he finishes his fights, he finishes them quickly. It's actually the same as Jack Della Maddalena. This fight will not go the distance. I mean, maybe it will, and Jack Della will win the decision. But if Pete Rodriguez is going to win the fight, he's going to win by knockout. All of his wins are in the first round. And yeah, man, it's like his fight against Yasser Guzman. He did pretty much what Jorge Masvidal did to Ben Askren back in the day. He kind of ran at him and just threw everything at him. It's the same with Jose Luis Rios. That fight, he kind of threw everything at the start and knocked him out. Jack Della Maddalena, on the other hand, also a very he's a finish, that's for sure. All of his wins coming in the first and second round. He started off with a couple of losses, but then he bounced back, and first and second round finishes there. His first decision win ever against Angelusa. So that's very interesting. He has 8 KOs and 1 submission win. Pete Rodriguez has 4 KOs, and he's also got a pretty extensive amateur record as well. I think he's got about 8 amateur fights as well, so he does have experience outside of his professional career. But the thing about him, man, is he's relatively small for a welterweight. He is pretty bulked up. He's 5'9". Jack Della Maddalena is 5'11". They've both got the same reach as well, which is going to be pretty interesting. To pick the winner in this one, I think we're just going to see Jack Della Maddalena win this fight. I do actually think he's going to outlast Pete Rodriguez. Pete Rodriguez is going to come out swinging. He's coming in a short notice replacement. He's going to want the knockout, as he has got in all of his other fights. He's going to come out swinging. He's going to come out looking for the knockout. I think Jack Della Maddalena is going to survive the first round of Pete Rodriguez, take him into the second round, and then I think he'll finish him off in the second round. Tapouria votes, let's see. Everyone seems to kind of agree with me here. Pete Rodriguez got 11% on the Rodriguez side, mostly by KO. He's probably not going to win a decision. I really don't see Rodriguez winning a decision. I think if the decision was to be won, it would be on the Maddalena side. I've got KO, TKO, or submission for Maddalena. Maddalena inside the distance. There is a chance he wins a decision like he did on Dana White's Contender Series, but I think we're going to see a finish in this fight in the second round from Jack Della Maddalena. Alright, and moving on to the second fight of the night. According to Tapouria anyway, we've got Elia Tapouria versus Charles Jourdain. Charles Jourdain, I think this fight is actually going to be on the main card, so this is really mixed up. But Charles Jourdain stepping in on short notice to fight the undefeated up-and-comer, very heavy favourite here, Elia Tapouria. He's got great grappling, he's got great striking as well. He's pretty well rounded all around. Charles Jourdain is coming off his pretty impressive win only 4 weeks ago against Andre Ewell, so he's going to be in shape. And yeah, that fight against Andre Ewell, pretty impressive performance by Charles Jourdain. I think that was one of his only decision wins. because I think he's known to be a finisher. Am I correct here? I really don't know. Yes, there we go. That is his only pro decision win. And apart from that, he's got a draw with Joshua Kalibel as well. He lost to Julian Erosa. I don't think he's going to beat Elia Tapouria in this one. I don't really have too much to say, apart from the fact that Elia Tapouria knocked out Ryan Hall, which is a pretty impressive win. I know it's not necessarily maybe as great as it would have been a couple of years ago when everyone was all over Ryan Hall. Now Ryan Hall is kind of not really looked at the same way as he used to be. I don't really see as many people ducking Ryan Hall as they used to. Elia Tapouria stepped up. He fought Ryan Hall. He knocked him out. And yeah, that was. I mean, it was a weird fight. I don't really know how to explain it, but he's got a win over Damon Jackson. He's got a win over Yusuf Zalal. And apart from that, he's just been fighting over on the regional scene. But the 3 wins that he's got in the UFC are against very high-level competition. Charles Jourdain on the other side. Win over Andre Uriel by decision. Very impressive win there. Lost to Julian Erosa. Knocked out Marcelo Rojo. A draw to Joshua Kalibel. And then lost to Andre Fili by split decision. So, a little bit more UFC experience for Charles Jourdain. Both guys very young, 26 and 25. Charles Jourdain stepping up on short notice. I don't think he's going to get the job done over Elia Tapouria. I think he's just going to be too much. I think he's going to be a little bit better on the feet. I think he's going to be better on the ground. 7 of Elia Tapouria's wins are by submission, I think, even though he hasn't got a submission win in the UFC. Am I even correct in saying that? Let me have a look. Yeah, 7 of his wins are by submission. Far out. I need to just trust myself sometimes. But Elia Tapouria, I think the fight won't go the distance. Charles Jourdain, he's only got 1 decision win in his UFC and in his MMA career. Charles Jourdain has only won a decision win in his career as well. I think we're going to see a finish either way, but I think Tapouria is going to be the one getting the job done. I would say a submission might be more likely than a knockout, and I think we're going to see it pretty early on in the fight. I'm going to say first round submission for Elia Tapouria in this one here. And the next fight I'm going to be covering here is Vanessa Demopoulos versus Sylvana Gomez Juarez, where I picked Vanessa Demopoulos. This fight was meant to happen last week, I think. It didn't. I'm pretty sure I've made a video already on this fight. Vanessa Demopoulos was my original pick, and it's going to be my pick again. I think that she's just going to be better on the ground. She's got the better wrestling, and she's got the better grappling in general as well. She's fought the higher level competition as well. They've both fought, actually, they've got a common opponent, Lupita Godinez. They've both lost to Lupita, but Sylvana Gomez looked kind of hopeless against her. Vanessa Demopoulos, on the other hand, at least went to a majority decision loss about a year ago to Lupita Godinez. And apart from that, she's got wins over Sam Hughes, who was in the UFC. She may have been cut now. She lost to Corey McKenna on the Dana White's Contender Series. She's beat Cynthia Arceo to get into the UFC, and I think she was a short notice replacement against JJ Aldrich, where she took the fight at 125 pounds. She's naturally a 115 pound fighter, and I think that she's going to get the job done here. And that's kind of really all I have to say. I just think that Vanessa Demopoulos has got the better grappling, and I think that we're going to see it in this fight. I can see Vanessa Demopoulos winning a decision using her wrestling, or even a late submission as well. But I think a decision would be more likely on the Vanessa Demopoulos side. Sylvana Gomez Juarez, I think she's got the better striking. So I think if this fight took place on the feet, then we would see a little bit more success on the Sylvana Gomez Juarez side. But I think that we're just going to see Vanessa Demopoulos wrestle Sylvana Gomez for 3 rounds. And I think that we're going to see Vanessa, who is not picked by Tapology whatsoever, get the win by decision or submission. It seems like the people that do pick her agree with me. Some people on the KO side of Juarez, but not really. Everyone kind of thinks that the fight's going to go decision. So do I. And yeah, I think we're going to see Vanessa Demopoulos win. But the thing is, if she does win, then what do we do with her? You know, it's not really like we can boost her up the rankings, because Sylvana Gomez Juarez, actually both of these girls will probably lose or get cut, to be honest. I can't really imagine that they sign 3-fight deals. And I don't really know if the UFC is going to want a 6-5 fighter fighting at strawweight, which is the best women's division at the moment. So yeah, anyway, I've got Vanessa Demopoulos. I think she's going to get the job done by decision or submission. And the next fight I'm going to talk about, I've already talked about the 4. Again, I think this fight was meant to happen last week, but there was problems with COVID protocols, I believe, on the Victor Henry side. So now it has been moved to this card on the UFC 270. I can only assume it's probably going to be on the prelims of the card. Ryoni Barcelos versus Victor Henry. Victor Henry making his UFC debut, a veteran of the MMA game. He's fought over in Ryzen. Far out. I should have known that, but I knew that he fought in Ryzen. Ryoni Barcelos, on the other hand, man, UFC, he's kind of always been on the edge of the top 15, which is kind of weird now that he's fighting a debuting fighter in Victor Henry. I think he was originally meant to have a different opponent and that fell out, and now he is fighting him. Let me actually have a look. Trevin Jones. He's meant to fight Trevin Jones. Now he is fighting Victor Henry. That makes sense. He's coming off a majority loss to Timur Valiev. Arguments to be made either way on that one, to be honest. And he beat Kili Taha by decision. He beat Said Nurmagomedov by decision. Carlos Huachin by submission. By decision. Sorry, like ground and pound actually. And Chris Gutierrez by submission. So yeah, he's kind of on the edge of that top 15 and has been for a while. He hasn't really fought too much recently. His last fight was 6 months ago, so he's coming back. But apart from that, man, not really too much activity on the Barcelos side. On the other hand, Victor Henry fought only a couple of months ago. Beat Albert Morales, who was 10-7 at the time. He lost to Denis Lavrentiev over at MFP, who was 9-2. And apart from this, he's got a couple of decent wins over in Ryzen. So Victor Henry has been in there with some pretty good guys. I think he's got a pretty decent ground game, but as I said in my original video, I do just think that Ryoni Barcelos is a little bit better everywhere. And I think that we're just going to see Ryoni Barcelos win the fight. I think if he was to get a finish, it would be in this fight, but I do think that we're just going to see Barcelos win a decision, as we have seen in his last couple of fights. I don't really have too much to say. I did make a little bit of a breakdown in my last video when I covered the fight night, but I think we're just going to see Barcelos win this fight. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say. Okay, so welcoming Kay Hansen to the 125 division is Jasmine Jasudavicius. Let me just make sure that is recording. It is, because I just recorded a video and it wasn't recording, and that kind of sucks. So Kay Hansen is my pick to win this fight. Jasmine Jasudavicius, I know she's got a background in wrestling. I think she's some sort of Canadian wrestling champion. And but on the other hand, we've also got Kay Hansen with the purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu on 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. She's going to be a lot smaller than Jasmine in this fight. 5'2" compared to 5'7". A 68-inch reach for Jasmine compared to the 63-inch reach of Kay Hansen. I think Kay Hansen's just going to put on the wrestling shoes in this one and win a decision. But Jasmine, if she can keep the fight on the feet and keep the range, I think she's going to find a lot of success, even though she's got that wrestling background. She has a split decision loss to Elise Reed, which doesn't really look that good considering Elise Reed just got dominated by Sijara Eubanks, who is kind of on the downhill at the moment. I'm going to be brutally honest. I think if Jasmine Jasudavicius loses this fight, I think they should put her up against Sijara Eubanks and Kay Hansen. I think she's going to win the fight. She's fighting at 125 for the first time in the UFC, but I do think she does have prior experience at 125 herself. One of them, she actually weighed in at 116 pounds of the 125 fights. But Kay Hansen, decision, submission, I think that's probably her most likely path to victory. I'm going decision. I think we're going to see some wrestling boots put on by Kay Hansen. I think we're going to see her out-wrestle, out-grapple Jasmine Jasudavicius over the course of 15 minutes. And she's going to win a decision here. Very young prospect by Kay Hansen. Jasmine, on the other hand, getting a little bit older, making her UFC debut. But I'm going to go with Kay Hansen in this one. Alright, and then the next one, we've got another fighter from Dana White's Contender Series. Simon Oliveira making his UFC debut against Tony Gravely. I think it's just going to be a little bit too much too soon for Simon Oliveira in this one. He won a split decision over Jose Alde. Prior to that, though, a very considerable amount of submission victories. Most of them coming by guillotine, I believe, and off of his back, which is definitely worth noting. We could see Simon Oliveira submit Tony Gravely off of his back, as Tony Gravely, he's got that wrestling in his back pocket, man. He did get knocked out by Nate Maness in his last fight, which did kind of hurt me to see. I can't actually remember who I picked in that fight, Tony Gravely or Nate Maness, but he's got the win over Anthony Burchak. He's got the split decision win over Gerardo de Freitas. He lost to Brett Jones, and he's got a win over Ray Rodriguez himself. over in Dana White's Contender Series. Simon Oliveira, on the other hand, he's probably best known for his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Most of his wins, I believe, have come by submission. Let me just double check that. But as you can see, very considerable amount of choke wins on his 11 wins by submission for Simon Oliveira. Tony Gravely, on the other hand, when he throws his punches, he throws with a decent amount of power. He's going to have the longer range in this one here. 69-inch reach compared to the about 67-inch reach for Simon Oliveira. 66.9-inch says Tapouria at the moment. But 9 wins by KO, 9 by decision. I think we could see him put on a little bit of wrestling shoes. He's fighting out of American Top Team. Simon Oliveira fighting out of Astra Top Team himself, which is I think the same camp that Brandon Moreno's fighting out of. But I'm gonna go with Gravely in this one. I know I've just been picking favourites all night long, but I've got to go with Gravely. I think he's gonna get the job done. I think we're gonna see a decision or a knockout win for Tony Gravely. And the people that are picking Gravely also have that, but do not sleep on Oliveira, man. I would not be surprised if Oliveira wins by submission off of his back, especially. Locks up a guillotine, which he does have a lot of guillotine wins. A triangle choke off of his back on the ground as well. But I think Tony Gravely's experienced enough to kind of avoid that sort of situation, and I think we're going to see him get a win. In this fight here, I think we're going to see Tony Gravely. If he doesn't keep his hands low like he did against Nate Maness, and he doesn't stick his chin out, I don't think he's going to get knocked out by Simon. Simon coming off that split decision win over Jose Alde. Not really the best look coming into a fight against Tony Gravely. I think Jose Alde was also signed off that fight. I know there was a fight where both fighters, the winner and the loser, were signed last year. So I think we're going to see Tony Gravely win the fight. But Simon Oliveira coming off Dana White's Contender Series, split decision win, kind of puts me off the pick a little bit, to be honest, as I was pretty confident in him getting the win by submission from memory. So we're going to see what happens here. I think we're going to see a Tony Gravely victory in the bantamweight division in this one here. And in another debut from Dana White's Contender Series 2021, we've got the undefeated Gennaro Valdez stepping up and fighting Matt Frivola, who is currently on the first 2-fight losing streak of his career, one of those being relatively famous to Terrence McKinney, where he was knocked out in less than 10 seconds, which is not a good look for his chin whatsoever. And he's coming off that loss to Arman Tsarukyan, which doesn't really look that bad, to be honest. I don't think it's win or go home for Matt Frivola, but I think if he does lose this fight, it's not going to be good at all, to be honest. And maybe it is even win or go home for Matt Frivola, actually, considering he's got one win over Luis Pena with split decision, and a win over Jalene Turner by decision as well. Lando Venado majority draw there 3 years ago. So not really. It took a little bit of a gap there. Gennaro Valdez, on the other hand, he knocked out Patrick White 9-1, but padded record, guys. Honestly, I'm sorry. I picked Gennaro Valdez with a lot of confidence in that Dana White's Contender Series fight, and he kind of disappointed me. Patrick White hurt him in the first round, and that surprised me because Patrick White, very, very padded record. I don't really know how to describe it apart from that. Prior to that, Gennaro Valdez had kind of beaten relatively decent competition on his way up. 4-0 there, 8-3 and 6-4. Not really too bad. Definitely high level competition that Patrick White was fighting anyway. But with that aside, man, Gennaro Valdez, he could get a knockout over Matt Frivola like he did against Patrick White, as maybe a lot of people could be writing off Matt Frivola's chin. I'm not going to. He's got wins in the UFC. I think we could potentially see a bit of wrestling coming from Matt Frivola's side in this one here. Gennaro Valdez, on the other hand, could be looking for the knockout. I think he's probably going to see what Terrence McKinney did in his debut and try and knock him out. But I'm actually going to go with Matt Frivola. I'm going to go with the guy that he may be a big favorite, but he is actually on a 2-fight losing streak. I think he's going to be able to turn it around in this one here. A lot of people picking Valdez by knockout, man, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, I understand the Valdez pick, but I'm going to have to go with Frivola. I do think he's going to bounce back, and I think he's going to win this fight. I think we're probably going to see the win. Come by decision, I think we're just going to see Matt Frivola kind of push up Gennaro Valdez on the cage, take him down I don't really think that Frivola's going to... Actually, that's one thing. Frivola could be very tentative in the feet as well, which could be relatively scary, especially considering he just got knocked out recently. Hopefully he's not overthinking that. Hopefully he's moved on. He's going to be the shorter man in the octagon by 1 inch, but I do see him getting the victory here. I think he's going to win. I think he's going to bounce back against the undefeated Gennaro Valdez, who just hasn't quite been UFC tested yet. I think once again it's just a little bit too much too soon for these Dana White's Contender Series guys. I'm pretty sure I picked against Dana White's Contender Series guys all night long, and the Michael Morales fight as well, and the next one I've got Trevin Giles. So yeah, man, let's see. Alright, in the next fight we've got Michael Morales versus Trevin Giles, and my first underdog pick of the night. I'm actually quite surprised that Trevin Giles isn't the favourite in this one. I know he has fought in 185 in the past. I know he's going to be cutting a lot of weight to make 170, but he looks pretty good on his Instagram. He looks like he's getting there. I'm going to go with Trevin Giles just to get the pick out of the way. Michael Morales, on the other hand, I was very hyped up for him on Dana White's Contender Series, but he didn't really impress me all that much. I'm going to be honest. I think he was the underdog against Nikolai Voroterikov, but yeah, that's kind of all I really have to say. He's the underdog against Nikolai from memory. I picked him. I was very high up on him. I thought that he was going to get a knockout win like he has against his previous opponents. But the thing is about this guy, man, he just has not fought the level of competition that Trevin Giles has and is. Trevin Giles is a guy that's kind of been in there with some pretty decent fighters. He's been in there with Roman Dolidze, the GOAT of the sport. Bevon, Lewis, James Krauss as well, split decision win. He didn't really win the fight, I'm going to be honest. And he lost to Gerald Meerschaert a couple of years ago, where I think he actually gassed out in that fight there. But he's coming off a knockout loss to Dricus du Plessis. So he's decided to go down to 170. Let's see how it's going to work out. He's going to be a pretty big guy for 170. Both guys are pretty big, actually. Michael Morales is very long reach, 79-inch reach, 5-inch reach advantage, which he potentially could use if he wants to kind of keep Trevin Giles away from him. But I genuinely think this is just going to be a little bit too much too soon for Michael Morales. He's only 22 years old. They really could have given him a guy that's just not quite as high level as Trevin Giles to build him up that little bit much more. I'm a bit worried for Michael here. I think he's going to lose that O on his record, and it's not really going to look incredible. I'm going with Trevin Giles. I think we're going to see a knockout or a decision. Most likely a decision in this one. I do think that the fight... I think the fight's definitely going to enter the second round. I'll say that. I don't know if it's going to go the distance, though. But, yeah, I'm pretty confident in Trevin Giles to win this one here. Michael Morales, man, I was very hyped up on this guy. There's not a lot of tape on him either, which is relatively concerning. But he's fought a lot recently. He's 12-0, very active guy. I think if he wins this fight, he's going to turn right back around. He's probably going to call someone out, to be honest. And, yeah, let's see what happens. But I do think I'm going to have to just pick Trevin Giles, the guy dropping down from middleweight, taking on the undefeated fighter, Michael Morales. I'm going with the underdog, Trevin Giles, to win this fight. And the next one, man, we've got a fight that I'm actually kind of looking forward to. Rodolfo Vieira versus Wellington Turman. Wellington Turman coming off a split decision win over Sam Alvey, which kind of isn't the best look. I know he lost a couple of points due to eye pokes in that fight, though. And prior to that, I think he was coming off a couple of KO losses, kind of back to back, which isn't really the best look. Maybe kind of makes you question the chin a little bit of Wellington Turman, but I'm not really worried about the chin. Oh man, I'm worried about the ground game of Rodolfo Vieira. I think he's like a 2015 IBJJF world champion or something like that. He's got great jiu-jitsu. Unfortunately, he did get submitted by Anthony Hernandez, though. One of the best submissions of 2021, just because of who it was against. He submitted Justin Stoltzfus, who's pretty well known for his Brazilian jiu-jitsu himself. And prior to that, a couple of UFC wins. Oscar Piotr, which is a pretty good submission win there, submitted the Vitaly Nemchinov. He was undefeated at the time as well. Wellington Turman, he's won and he's lost in the UFC. I guess you could kind of say. I think he's got a few submission wins himself. He does. I think he might actually have a belt in BJJ as well. I probably should have researched that. before I kind of had a look at this fight. But it doesn't really matter anyway. I think Rodolfo Vieira is going to submit Wellington Turman probably in the first or second round. Wellington Turman, very young guy with 22 fights on his record, which is very impressive. Hopefully, yeah, man, hopefully we'll see a decent fight on this one. I don't think that Wellington Turman should be cut with a loss. I know he's not got the best UFC record whatsoever, but he's only 25 years old, man. I think after this fight, they should probably just build him up a little bit more. He's definitely got a chance to do some big things in the UFC, but I've just got to go with Rodolfo Vieira by submission. I think he's going to get the job done, and I think he's going to get the job done in the first or second round by submission. He's got 7 submission wins. He's got 1 knockout win. I don't know if he's going to knock him out. I don't think he is. He doesn't really have the best stand-up, to be honest. When he kind of gets hit, he just doesn't like getting punched in the face, let's be honest. And, yeah, I think he's going to get the fight to the ground, and I think he's going to submit Wellington Turman. So does everyone else. Okay, alright, that is, yeah, well, to be fair, that was a very common pick, I guess. But yeah, that's my pick. I think we're going to see Rodolfo Vieira by submission. Alright, and now in this next fight, we've got a fight that is a lot harder to pick than it seems. It's going to be on the main card of the pay-per-view. Michel Pereira, pretty big name. Andre Fialho making his UFC debut. What an opportunity. But he's stepping up on a week and a half's notice to fight a guy as unorthodox as Michel Pereira. I don't know. I'm a little bit worried, man, that the big underdog is actually going to get the win. I actually think Andre Fialho, he's got a good shot. He's got a really good shot at winning the fight, but I am just going to have to pick Michel Pereira to win this fight. He's got a win over Nico Price, and he's got a win over Chaos Williams as well. He beat Zelim Imadiev a year and 3 months ago. Prior to that, he lost to Thiago Sanchez and Tristan Connolly, which isn't really the best look, but now he's probably borderline top 15. I think with a win over Andre Fialho, he's definitely going to be ranked, and I think if Andre Fialho wins this fight, then he should get a top 15 opponent afterwards. But, yeah, Andre Fialho, the much more technical striker, to be honest. He's got 11 KO wins. Michel Pereira, 28 years old with 37 fights. That's an insane amount of experience, but he's just so unorthodox. He does flips in the cage. I don't really know why. He does flips on, because I mean he could get injured. That's what I'm trying to say. He could get injured doing these flips on his walkout as well. But it does make you a lot more excited to watch him fight. So I guess he's kind of got that going for him as well. But yeah, talking to actually the fight, Michel Pereira, he throws a lot of flying knees, he throws a lot of head kicks as well. He actually took down Nico Price as well in his decision win there. That was a pretty close fight though, I will admit. Andre Fialho, on the other hand, coming over a KO win over Stefan Sekulic, a KO win over Lincoln Puig, a KO win over Sang Hong Yu, and a KO over James Vick. All 3 of these KOs came in 2021, which is very important. 4 of them, sorry, important to know. So we had a great 2021, which got him into the UFC here on short notice against a guy that's borderline top 15. He fights out of Sanford MMA. He's got a chance, man. These odds, I don't really like them, to be honest. I probably wouldn't really be parlaying this fight. In my opinion, I think Andre Fialho, it's probably a dog or pass fight. Massive underdog here. I think he's got a very, very good chance. I don't like how not many people are picking Andre Fialho. But with that being said, I'm still going to pick Michel Pereira. He's coming off a full camp. It's very difficult to beat a top 20 guy on a full camp anyway. Andre Fialho is coming in short notice. And yeah, I'm just going to have to go with Michel Pereira. I think he's going to win the fight by decision. Yeah, I think he's going to win the fight by decision. I don't think Fialho is going to be a guy to kind of be pushed over. I think the first round is going to be Michel Pereira's all day. I don't think Andre is going to be ready for the unorthodox striking. But once Andre kind of figures out Michel, that's when things are going to get a lot more interesting, to be honest. I think that's when Andre Fialho could potentially start taking over and could be trying to land his power shots then. Or Andre Fialho could just run out like Jorge Masvidal and land a flying knee Michel Pereira in the first 20 seconds, and we don't know. Now we've got Cody Stamann versus Saeed Nurmagomedov. It's Cody Stamann, pretty decent wrestler. He's relatively happy to get a takedown and just stay in full guard for 15 minutes if he has to get a win. He's coming off a 2-fight losing streak after beating Brian Kelleher in his return. He took quite a bit of time off because he had a couple of things going on in his personal life. Now he's back. He lost to Jimmy Rivera a year and 5 months ago. He lost to Murav Dvalishvili 8 months ago, and I don't see it going all that great for Cody Stamann. I think that Said Nurmagomedov is just going to be a lot more well-rounded in this fight. We don't really see him wrestle as dominantly as we did Khabib or as we do Islam Makhachev, but he's a very well-rounded Russian fighter. I'll put it like that. He's going to be a little bit bigger than Cody Stamann in the cage as well. In height, that is 8. He's 5'8" compared to 5'6", with a longer reach as well. Said Nurmagomedov coming off the KO win over Mark Striegel, who was 18-2 at the time, but that was a year and 2 months ago. This is a return for both Cody Stamann coming off a loss and Said coming off a win. He lost to Ryoni Barcelos, but before that he beat Ricardo Ramos, which is a great win. He beat Justin Scoggins by split decision, not really the greatest win, but that was his UFC debut, and prior to that he was fighting on the regional scene, but he's not really the most active fighter in the world. I would like to see him fight more often. I think he's going to win this fight. I don't really know what more to say apart from the fact that Cody Stamann, his path to victory is to take Said down and could just do what he does, and that's wrestle. He wrestled Brian Kelleher. He won that fight. He got a draw against Yadong Song. He won Alejandro Perez as well by decision. If Cody Stamann's going to win, he's going to win by decision as well. I should probably say that he's not really a finisher whatsoever. Said Nurmagomedov, on the other hand, he's kind of got more tools to get the job done. He's got a lot of decision wins himself, but he's got 3 submission wins, 4 KO wins as well. I don't think he's going to finish Cody Stamann. I think the fight's going to go the distance either way. Cody Stamann, if he's going to win, he's going to win decision. If Nurmagomedov is going to win, he's going to win a decision as well. 11 decision wins for Cody Stamann, 6 KO wins himself. But I've got to go with Nurmagomedov. I've got to go by decision. Stamann's path to victory is decision. He's a bit of a decision machine. So is kind of Nurmagomedov in a way. I think he's going to get the job done. And I think the fight's going to go all 3 rounds. It's kind of really all I have to say for this. Alright, now we've got a fight I'm really looking forward to. Brandon Moreno versus Deiveson Figueiredo, fighting for a 3rd time. So what happened in their first fight was they both got wins, I think, on the same card a year and 1 month ago. And then they come back. They both come back one month later. And Deiveson Figueiredo fought Brandon Moreno to a draw. It would have been a decision win if he didn't get that point deducted. So what they did was, because the fight was so closely contested, they did a rematch. And I think I picked Deiveson Figueiredo to win that one, actually. And Brandon Moreno came back and looked really great and submitted him. I think it was in the 3rd round. Deiveson Figueiredo, on the other hand, did not really look that great. I think the weight cut really got to him because he has to cut all the way down to 125. And I think his walking around weight is something absolutely ridiculous. Like 160. I mean, that's what I heard. I think Weasel MMA made a video about how absolutely insane this weight cut is that Deiveson Figueiredo is making to make 125. So maybe it is time for Deiveson to move up to 135 and see if he can find any success there. Prior to that, though, he beat Alex Perez by submission, Joseph Benavidez by submission, Joseph Benavidez by KO as well. He knocked down Joseph Benavidez a lot in those 2 fights. Poor Joey. Brandon Moreno, by the way, he beat Brandon Royval to get his title shot. And prior to that, he beat Juzia Formiga and Kai Kara France, which is actually looking like a pretty good win, because Kai Kara France is fighting Askar Askarov next, and I think that the winner of that fight is definitely going to fight the winner of this fight here. Unless Deiveson Figueiredo wins and they do like a quadrilogy, which actually could happen, because then it would be 1-1-1, which would really hold up the division, let's be honest. But I do actually think that Brandon Moreno is going to defend his belt for the first time in this fight here. He's only 28 years old, and I think that we're going to see at least one defense from Brandon Moreno. I don't really know where I was going there. But yeah, because I think he's going to defend the belt. He's got really great boxing, which was truly showcased in the last fight against Deiveson Figueiredo. Deiveson wasn't really able to land anything. Brandon was able to knock down Deiveson in the 1st and 2nd round, and then he took his back and got that submission. Brandon Moreno, I think he's going to win the fight, to be honest. I think the fight might last longer than the second one did. I think we might actually see this go to a fourth or fifth, or even a decision here. Deiveson Figueretto, though, on the other hand, he's got that power, though. He's got that power that could knock anyone out in the 125 division. Could he land on Brandon? I think potentially, but I think Brandon's just going to take it. I think he's going to come into this fight with a lot more confidence than Deiveson. And I do think he's going to get the job done. I'm going Moreno. I know a lot of people will be because he just looked so good in the last fight, but I don't know if Figueretto coming back to 125 is really his best move. I think he should be moving up because that weight cut truly is killing him, man. It's not really that great to see. So I'm going to have to go with Moreno. I think he's going to get the job done. I think a decision is pretty likely. There's a decent chance he's going to get the finish as well, but I do think that we're going to see a Brandon Moreno either late finish or decision victory in this fight here. And now we've got a fight which has not been advertised as much as it should because UFC and Francis Ngannou are currently kind of having a little bit of a fight. But we put that aside. We've got Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Ghan. I think the interim champion Cyril Ghan is going to win this fight. When this fight was first announced, I was very heavily on the Francis Ngannou side. But the more I kind of watch Cyril Ghan fight and the performance against Derek Lewis as well is actually pretty good knowledge to have coming into this fight as well. We've seen Cyril Ghan fight a guy with power that can knock you out in one punch. Do I think Francis Ngannou is a better striker all around than Derek Lewis? Yes, to be honest. But that fight was great. That was a great fight that we saw Cyril Ghan win by late TKO, third round TKO actually. But prior to that, he's got a win over Alexander Volkov, Jairzinho Rosenstrike, Junior Dos Santos, and Tanner Boza. Man, this guy fights pretty often, especially in the last 3 or 4 fights. But Francis Ngannou, on the other hand, knocked out Stipe Miocic, one of the greatest, if not the greatest heavyweight of all time. And knocked out Jairzinho Rosenstrike, 10-0 at the time. Knocked him out in like 42 seconds, I think. Knocked out Junior Dos Santos, knocked out Cain Velasquez, knocked out Curtis Blades. Oh, dude, the list just goes on, man. But Cyril Ghan, he's going to have the reach. He's not going to have the reach advantage. Oh, dude. These guys are the same height and have the same reach. I didn't even notice that when I made my first breakdown of this fight. That sounds really stupid now. But Cyril Ghan a slight favorite on this one here. I think you can find Francis Ngannou as a slight favorite, and Cyril Ghan is a slight underdog on some betting sites because the odds are just so close in this one. Because Francis Ngannou could win this fight by KO at any moment. I think that if Francis is going to win the fight, he's going to win by knockout. I do not see Francis winning a decision in this one. I think Cyril Ghan is going to put on the pace. I think he's just going to use his technical striking. He's so much faster than Francis. He's so much faster than any of these heavyweights as well. He kind of just moves very well, very fluidly. He's very slick, and especially with his striking, obviously. He's got that kickboxing, undefeated kickboxing background as well. And he's kind of translated it very well to MMA and to the UFC heavyweight division. I think we're going to see him get a win over Francis Ngannou. I don't think he's going to be scared of Francis. They're former training partners. They don't really like each other. Cyril Ghan knows what Francis can do. Cyril Ghan knows Francis. Francis probably knows Cyril as well. And it's just going to be a great fight all around, to be honest. But I'm going to go with Cyril Ghan. One thing as well I think is worth noting is Francis Ngannou. How focused is he actually on this fight? Because we can see Francis talking about boxing. He's going back and forth with Tyson Fury about a boxing fight. How focused is he actually about thinking about this fight? If he's putting a lot of thought into his negotiations with the UFC, if he's putting a lot of thought into his negotiations with boxing, into his potential fight with Tyson Fury, maybe he could be overlooking Cyril Ghan. Maybe his mind might not be in the right place to defend the bout against a guy as dangerous as Cyril Ghan is going to be inside that cage. So, yeah, I think Cyril Ghan's going to win the fight. It's pretty much the same breakdown as the Ghan versus Lewis, the same kind of prediction. I predicted Ghan round 4 or 5 TKO. He ended up winning in the 3rd round. So, I'm going to go, if the fight even leaves the 1st round, Francis Ngannou could knock out Ghan in the 1st minute, which is definitely worth noting for sure. But I'm going to have to go with Ngannou. No. Sorry, I'm going with Ghan. I'm picking Cyril Ghan to win this fight, and I'm picking him to win probably most likely a decision. It would actually surprise me if he won by submission. I think we could see a late TKO though, because as we saw in the Stipe fight, the first one by Ngannou, Ngannou versus Stipe won. Ngannou was very, very tired in that fight after being out-wrestled, though. So we'll see how Ngannou is, if the fight even makes it to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. Because we've seen Ghan go for a long time. I don't know if we've seen him go 5 rounds. I'm really stupid. But the point is, Cyril Ghan, I think he's going to win the fight. I think he's going to win. We're going to see a decision win or a late TKO for Cyril Ghan. And if it is a decision, it's going to be like 49-46 or 50-45. We're just going to see some technical striking put on by Cyril Ghan here, in my opinion.